What's going on, folks? Josh here with Shua Photography, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the Logitech StreamCam Plus that I just picked up on Amazon for under $100. I'm doing this video because I just picked this camera up and I wanted to let you guys know if I thought that here in 2022 if it would be a good buy for you. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the pros and cons of this camera and what I like and don't like about it. So right now you're looking at the StreamCam straight into OBS at 1080p. One thing I did find is that when you are initially setting this camera up and attaching it to OBS, it doesn't pull the resolution when you plug it in for the first time. So I'm gonna go ahead and minimize this camera real quick to show you what I had to do in order to make this work. So I had to go to the camera and do the settings. So in the settings here, when I first plugged this in, it was a much lower resolution and only had the picture in this top left-hand corner. And the only way for me to figure out how to do this was recording this video and now I completely scrapped that video and I'm starting all over. But basically what I found is that if you scroll down here to the resolution and FPS type, so this is how it was set at device default. Okay, so this is what it looked like, was this itty bitty little screen. Okay, so it was this tiny little screen and it didn't look very good, and then I had to, you know, make it way bigger, and then it just didn't look good at all. So I couldn't figure it out, and so finally I decided to go through and look at the settings, and I realized that the resolution and FPS, everything underneath here was blank and it was under default. So I was like, well, let's see what's on here. So I was able to come into here and change the resolution of the picture. So it does allow for a 4K picture, but if I click on this, it's going to go down to a measly 5 frames per second. So I'm going to click on it just so you can see highest FPS. It also doesn't like the video format. Okay, so this is 4K on this camera, so it will film it in 4K. Let me minimize this. Hold on. Okay, so this is it filming in 4K at 5 frames per second. So it just is, it looks like absolute crap. So obviously we are not going to use this, but it does allow you for 4K at 5 frames per second. So I'm going to bring this back down to 1080p at the highest frames per second, which is 60 frames per second. And this is how the camera should look. Like I said, it was boggling my mind because I couldn't figure out why this camera wasn't giving me the picture that I was expecting. A 1080p picture should not look like crap. Okay, this is it straight out of camera. No manipulation or anything like that. I can configure the video, everything here, right? So we can go to auto white balance, which it does not do a good job at auto white balance at all. So I removed that. I like mine for my personal taste. I like it right around 6,000 Kelvin. With my lighting setup, it's what I like the best. But you can change everything. You know, I've added a little extra sharpness in here. I can add or remove saturation. I can make it way saturated. I can, you know, bring the saturation down, whatever I want to do. Can bring up the gain, you know, to make it brighter, but I like it just like this. So obviously you'll be able to tweak this camera however you want, but for me, this is how I like the look of it. Now, so like I said, this is the camera right out of the box, right? So as soon as you plug it in, as long as you go into OBS and you change the frames per second, or you change the resolution in OBS itself to get this proper picture, this is what it looks like. But one thing that I found is that there is, if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, one thing you can do is download the NVIDIA broadcast software, which will actually take your GPU and use that to process a connected camera. So whether you're using a webcam like this, or like I used to use my Nikon mirrorless cameras as webcams, I used to plug those in. What you can do is use the NVIDIA broadcast software to manipulate that. So that was actually what you were watching when we started this video. Switching back and forth between the same camera in OBS is not the greatest. Can you see me? Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna switch from the stream cam, okay? So here is the stream cam straight out of camera, right? This is how it comes. But then I'm gonna show you what it looks like when it's processed through the NVIDIA broadcast software. Now, this is being manipulated by the NVIDIA broadcast software to make this picture. As you can see, the background is a lot more blurry. You know, I think the picture looks better when it's processed through here. I added a little bit of sharpness and stuff like that, but basically what I'll do is I'll show you what I did to configure this camera. This is the NVIDIA broadcast software. In here, I needed to delete the camera because if the camera is in use, we can't make adjustments to it. So now that the camera is not in use by OBS, I can come in here and switch this on, okay? So in here, we can change the settings of the camera here. So we can go 1080p 30 frames per second, 1080p 60 frames per second, and then down, but we're not gonna go down at all. So I put it here on 30 frames per second. I haven't done testing to see whether I'm gonna wanna use 60 frames per second. I move my hands around all the time, so I haven't decided whether I'm going to use 60 frames per second or use 30 frames per second. But you can see here, we can turn off the background blur, turn on the background blur, increase or decrease the strength. Like, look how insane that is. Okay, so I obviously don't like it like this. I want it to look a lot more natural, like I'm using an f1.8 lens, f1.4 lens, something like that. So I'm gonna keep it right around here. Based on whether you want better quality or better performance, you can select these. I want the better quality instead of performance. I've got a 3070 Ti in here, so I'm not really worried about performance. It's gonna do fantastic while I'm doing all of this editing. I may switch this off or use the basic camera if I'm doing some like heavy editing, like I'm recording my screen while doing 4K video editing in DaVinci Resolve, so that it's not trying to process this while I'm also doing some heavy GPU loading in there. But again, this is what I'm gonna do when I'm doing these talking heads. I mean, you're looking at the Logitech Stream Cam processed through the NVIDIA broadcast software, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I don't think you can do too many effects at one time. I think you can only do noise remove. You can only do 2. So we can do an auto frame, which basically what it does is it zooms in and then will frame and kind of track me as I'm moving around. I don't really use that. Actually, let's do it. Let's do auto frame. Okay, so now we're zoomed in and see that it's tracking me across the video. Okay, so it's kind of more of a gimmicky thing. It's kind of cool. I mean, it might be useful, if I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come over here to this side of my office, but my microphone's not gonna go over there. but we can kind of, you know, zoom out a little more. Yeah, so depending on where you're placed and stuff like that, or where you're sitting, it may or may not affect anything. So again, there's auto frame, video noise removal is what I'm going to be using most of the time, just to get a little extra quality out of this video. But you can do background replacement and replace the background with, you know, something else. You know, it does okay because I'm not on a green screen. It would make it a whole lot easier if I had a green screen behind me, but I don't. One of the other things you can do is just remove the background altogether, and again, it's going to do the same thing. So this would be good, like, for me to have down at the bottom corner of one of my videos when I'm trying to do a tutorial on DaVinci Resolve or Capture One Pro while I'm editing. I don't like any of those. I mean, it might be useful, like I said, for doing a tutorial or something like that, and put just my little, you know, head down there. But again, I don't have a green screen, and I don't plan on doing green screen, so I'm just gonna leave it at the background blur. I think this is the most natural. You see me where I actually am in my office, and I think this is gonna be the best video for me. So that is what you can use in the NVIDIA broadcast software. So let's go ahead and come back to here. I'm going to turn off my key light, and then I'm going to make some adjustments and see what it looks like in a more, you know, standard lighting environment. Give me just a sec. Okay, so as you can see right now, my LED lights, my LED ceiling lights are going berserk. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play with the brightness settings. Ooh, nope, not like that. I do not like that at all. Okay. Backlight compensation does a decent job, I guess. Let's go to gain. Ooh, okay. Okay. Go to camera controls. Let's take the exposure down. Okay, so now I've gotten rid of the flickering. Okay, so this is not great lighting. So this is like what someone would use normally for Zoom or for Teams or anything like that, or for streaming if you don't have a full-on lighting setup. This is how the camera will look if you're in a standard lighting situation, okay? I'm not a big fan of, you know, flat lighting. This has, you know, lights from just the ceiling. You still have my background light and stuff like that, but it's not the greatest look. So is the Logitech StreamCam a viable option as a webcam here in 2022? The answer is yes. If you do a little bit of lighting tweaks and you make some edits and you have an NVIDIA graphics card and you can download the NVIDIA broadcast software, I think it's a fantastic camera. It does a really, really good job as a webcam. And I'm going to be using this camera for the majority of my videos moving forward. The whole reason that I wanted to get a webcam was because over the last several months, since I've been doing more and more YouTube videos, I've been using my Nikon Mirrorless cameras with their lenses as a webcam, and the Nikon Utility is fantastic. The issue comes when I'm out or having to prepare for a photo shoot. I can no longer use that camera as a webcam. I have to unplug it, put it away, and all that stuff. Then when I return, I have to do the same thing. I have to set it up. Hopefully it's in the same position, looking the same way, and all of that stuff. Whereas with this camera, I can set it up here just like this, and every time or any time that I want to record a video, it's here. It looks good. So get yourself some decent lighting, get you a space that looks kind of cool, and start making videos. This camera will do it for you. So I am going to let you know, I am going to export this video in 4K, so you can even see how upscaling from 1080p to 4K it will look for you. You're probably not going to tell the difference between 1080p and 4K because you're probably watching this on a cell phone, but this camera does a fantastic job. If you can get this thing for 100 bucks, like the MSRP is $169. If you can get it for almost $70 off or almost $80 off like I got it, it's a no-brainer. Instead of spending $40 or $50 for a maybe okay, maybe decent webcam, spend an extra 40, 50 bucks on this camera and you will be pleased. I can guarantee it. So this is Josh with Shua Photography. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more reviews and content here in the near future. This is Josh with Shua Photography. We'll see you in the next video.